Hey everybody, long time no see. This is Chris with Chris Comments. I'm going to be making some comebacks later on next week, but for right now, just before this weekend starts, I want to talk about gun control because it's just a big safety thing, especially with the weekend coming up. I'm going to start with David Pacman. He came out with this comment after a Christian school shooting occurred. He said, very surprising that there would be a mass shooting at a Christian school, given that lack of prayer is often blamed for these horrible events. His comment is being looked at as very blasphemous. You know, how dare you, and all this crap by a lot of my fellow Christians out there. But whether you're a Christian or not, a lot of these people, they're missing the point. They're missing the point. Gun control and regulations is what's needed for this. Okay? We can't have this kind of stuff going on anymore where you're just loose with the laws and even just as loose with law enforcement. And I think that's, oops. I got the music in the background. I think that goes very well with the school. Now here in Texas, we got DPS that's just being this total douchebag of a thing, and that's nothing new. If you've been listening to my podcast, you know that there's a bunch of jerks here in Texas, and what I mean is that those that are running the show are doing a lot of damage. There was this shooting that took place in Uvalde, and parents who were parents of the victims, the deceased, the 21 people, 19 kids, 2 teachers, they were doing a rally this week in honor of the fallen, and as well as placing a big excuse me, as well as placing a big. It's late at night. I'm sorry. As placing a rally and a request for our Texas government, Texas state government to create new law and legislation and all this stuff to enforce it and everything. But what this one woman was doing was going to school, getting her kid out so she can take him to the rally, so they could speak on behalf of his sister who died, her firstborn child, which was her daughter. And this Texas DPS who was assigned at that school was trying to restrict parents from taking off with their kids, their own children, out of the school to attend the rally. Senator calls for investigation after video. The senator is Roland Gutierrez. He's a state senator. There's a video of a DPS officer shoving one of the deceased mother out of the school, trying to keep her from getting her son. And it turns out there's other parents that had to deal with this Texas Department of Public Safety police officer that was at the schools in Uvalde, keeping them from grabbing their children, and well, not grabbing their children, but signing them out and taking them to the rally. Anna Rodriguez, I'm sorry, was was the mother, and she went to check her son out of the school for that rally, and this cop got in her face. The media didn't state what the officer's name was at the time. I'm sure that it'll come up. But yeah, I mean, the video's been released, and they show this cop just being this total dick to the mother of the victim, pushing her out of the school and everything, shoving her out. Now, not only does this involve the lack of gun control, but it shows the complete worthlessness of law enforcement. And this is really dire for me to speak up about, because this is here in my state, Texas, where once again, under Greg Abbott's BS, the governor and every single mayor and every single district council person, and everybody that's in charge that's on his side doing the same thing is just abusing the law, and in this case making it personal through politics, social politics, if not, political politics, because DPS has been used for this kind of horse crap, making criminals out of defenseless, innocent citizens, making criminals out of citizens for no reason. We've got a record now here. Our cops have got this legitimate record now of a multitude incidences where if it's not Texas DPS, it's Border Patrol. If it's not Border Patrol, it's a state trooper. If it's not a state trooper, then it's what do you call it? Sheriffs and deputies, that are doing this, and it's just plain wrong. It's very, very tiring. But it's late at night, so I'm not going to be shouting or just cursing up a storm like I normally do. Now, this doesn't just involve the worthlessness of law enforcement. It involves the worthlessness of lawmakers. Switching it all the way back to D.C., where this representative Republican of Kentucky was trying to confront Jamal Bowman, who was telling everybody to step up and stop being cowards, stop bowing down to the gun, the gun makers and NRA and all this good stuff. Excuse me. This guy, Thomas Massie, approached Jamal Bowman and said, there's never been a school shooting in a school that allows teachers to carry guns, which I believe is just incorrect, because the stats show the history where an armed resource officer was at the scene. Robb Elementary in 2022 here in Texas, in a county called Uvalde, there was an officer at the scene. He was armed and he just was worthless. He was too slow, and he just didn't do anything worth a damn. Same thing for Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School back in 2018. There was an officer at the time there, an armed officer. Same year, 2018, Marshall County High School. And then back here to Texas, I don't remember what states those were, but back here in Texas, and I'm going to repeat, I'm going to be quoting when it happens here in Texas, because again, this is my Lone Star State. I have every reason to be upset about this. Santa Fe High School in the same 2018. And finally, the fourth incident, Great Mills High School. I don't remember what state that was. It wasn't around here in Texas. As far back as 2001, Santana High School. I think that was in California. And finally, in 1999, Columbine. So, yeah, every single one of those high schools as far back as 1999, 4 of them in 2018, had an officer on the scene where, he was armed. He should have taken care of the situation, but he didn't. He didn't. And I'm saying he because most of the time these kinds of cops are not women. I got a funny feeling the woman would have, made a bigger stink, or would have actually have tried, maybe even getting shot in the process, but that's irrelevant. Now, the protests and the gun rallies and all this good stuff, this is nothing new. But there's one where it got a little serious. In Tennessee, state capital, there was a storming in a rally, storming of all these protesters and rallying for gun control, that bursted into the scene and started chanting at the state representatives in Tennessee. What do we want? Gun control. When do we want it? Now. And they were doing that chant for a good while. And a lot of people are trying to accuse these activists for being no different than the insurrectionists of January 6th. There's no comparison. There's a whole mess of comparisons to be made, and in my opinion, there's not really much of it. I mean, yeah, they stormed the building, but they didn't really kill anyone. There were no files or documents stolen out of the elected officials' offices. There were no offices broken into, to top it all off. And no one tried to attempt to kidnap or kill a lawmaker. And I'm referring to that hang Mike Pence and let's go find AOC and kill her, and let's go find Nancy Pelosi and kill her. Nobody was saying anything like that about any of those representatives. So there's not much of a comparison. The only thing that they can actually say, the only thing any critic can actually say, is that they interfered with business in the Capitol building with their chants. It's an almost complete contrast in comparison to the January insurrection. Again, with the exception of the fact that they just bursted in. Now, there's a lot of people that are blaming a lot of other people in different demographics about this. When everybody found out about the gay tranny shooting that school in Tennessee, the Christian school, there's a huge uproar. There's a lot of there's a whole mess of queer and transgender people that are trying to rally everybody up and actually start a war and all this good stuff, and start shooting and killing all these haters, especially Christians, and all this stuff. But I like to point out that a small number of it's a small number by comparison. There's 2 million gun owners, 2 million AR-15 gun owners, and some of them might be queer. This was only one. This was only one that actually did something with his gun. The rest just yapped. Okay? And that's still saying a lot compared to Nicholas Cruz. Okay? Compared to Robert Crimo. Okay? The Highland Park shooting. Okay? Nicholas Cruz was the one that shot at Douglas High School. Okay? They were following along and joining those of rhetoric that is saying, let's lash out at people. Okay? And again, they were straight, and they were proud, and all this stuff. So a small number of LGBTQ and that lash out is not speaking for the entire gay peoples, LGBTQ peoples, And I'm stating this because, remember, this is Chris's comments, a show of common sense on common ground. This is just a little reminder to everybody, okay? To just be cool and watch who you're listening to with their preachings, because again, it's just a small number of gay people. Okay. The angry immigrant shooter over in Uvalde here in Texas, he doesn't speak for every immigrant. Okay, this is a guy with roots on Mexico and U.S. Because of his Anglo father. But nevertheless, he travels in and out, so he migrates back and forth across the border. But he doesn't speak for every immigrant. Okay. You got to understand. that there's a lot of people that are going to be demonizing immigrants and all this good stuff. They still are, and I'll be bringing up an entirely different aspect on it concerning the cartels that are trying home invasions and so far losing the fight, but nevertheless. But that's an entirely different story, and I will get to it, I promise. The two Chinese killers, Chun Li Sao and Hu Con Tran, and I call them Chinese just simply because these guys, they lived in the Philippines and Vietnam, but they're Chinese descendants. Okay, they came to California, and in two different locations. One shot up 7 people, another shot up 11. Okay, these two Chinese proud killers do not speak for all of the Chinese people that are proud of being, Chinese nationals. Okay, There's nothing wrong with that. Where it's wrong is where you see those two douchebags, that 67-year-old and that 72-year-old, shooting up a place to top it all off at Chinese festivals, you know, just because it's done here in America and it's a little bit more commercialized. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, St. Patrick's Day is incredibly commercialized. You know, Halloween, which was a religious ritual to shoo away demons, that's commercialized beyond reproach. Valentine's Day, in honor of Saint Valentine, show love and all this stuff, dude. That is commercialized beyond reproach. Also, it is never going to stop being commercialized, ever. So I understand the upset. The upset. The part where they're in wrong is where they're going to the actual festivals and shooting people and all this stuff. And again, it's their own Chinese people, you know. There's nothing wrong with being proud. But these two people, these two shooters, were very much in the wrong themselves. But they don't speak for everybody, China, because the Chinese were being shot at in their own festivals. And the same thing goes for teen shooters. I mentioned Columbine. Columbine, was two teenagers out of 6 who called themselves the Black Trenchcoat Mafia. I'm sorry, Trenchcoat Mafia. And it was 2 teenagers, and that was it. They didn't even speak for the entire mafia, the entire clique. But there they go, shooting up their own school. So it boggles my mind how everybody says, "Oh, all these teenagers are so bad." No, those 2 were. But the rest of the rest of the teenagers that they victimized weren't bad. So, and that's the thing that I'm pointing out. That's the reason why I'm coming back on here. Despite the fact that it's late at night, this is the only time that I have the time in order to speak. For right now, but it's been hurting my ears hearing these people and the critics and the people of hate, and as well as the flip side, the other side of the fence, the crying and the we're all victims and you gun owners are demons and you don't have a heart, all this crap. Okay, I'm listening to both sides of the fence, both sides of the aisle, both sides of the tracks, and I'm hearing just a bunch of whacked out crap. So I had to come back here with the show of common sense on common ground, and I had to just I have to state this stuff. Yeah, and you guys pretty much know this, but of course one of the reasons why you keep coming here, is because of the common sense on common ground talk that I'm doing. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ugly situations. This guy Pac-Man had a chance to take a cheap shot at my faiths at a school of my faith. But I'm not mad. He's got a point. The Texas DPS and almost every Texas law enforcement in this day and age here in 2020s, they are just awful, but they're being tools in enforcing propaganda through rhetoric, through everybody else's rhetoric, and it's a shame because as much as we can't stand cops, for all of their, rousting and they're pulling you over whenever they feel like it, and all this other crap. They're not really the best of people, but we do acknowledge them for their heroic deeds when they do something heroic, when they're there medically and they're not the doctors, they're not the EMS, when they need to do crowd control out of a chaotic situation, No, we don't like them when they're giving us parking tickets, but nevertheless, this whole let's go ahead and get out of the cops' way to show appreciation so they can just abuse people and criminalize citizens And for those who don't remember, Operation Lone Star. When I was talking about that, I had a little bit of bragging rights, and I can't remember the date. I'll look it up sometime again. But, you know, Operation Lone Star, there was testimony and records and files of complaints concerning cops that were using Operation Lone Star by criminalizing citizens in the name of border security, which is just stupid. But yeah, I mean, it went as far as a guy pulling over a woman, forcing himself into a search of her car without even giving her permission, finding one loose leaf of marijuana, which didn't even weigh 7 ounces. It weighed .07. It didn't even weigh an ounce. It weighed .07 ounces. The largest amount of marijuana that you can take here legally in not San Antonio, but Texas, is 1.2 ounces, I think, of marijuana. So this thing weighed only .07 ounces, and she was criminalized as a drug smuggler. Drug smuggling charges, federal. You know, she was found with a loose leaf of marijuana, which is a misdemeanor. You know, as well as being pulled over for I think it was speeding a couple of miles over the speed limit. That's just a citation penalty, a ticket. But instead, she wound up getting federal charges pressed against her, the same as Hugo Chavez. No, not Hugo Chavez. El Chapo. Okay, she got federal charges thrown at her, as if she was El Chapo, you know, or any other cartel leader, and that's just wrong. You know, it's just total BS. And then you got them backed up by Governor Greg Abbott here in Texas, Gestapo Greg, and all the way up to D.C., this Thomas Macy from Kentucky, with this whole philosophy that if you put a gun in the school, that it's just going to save everybody, which, once again, and I don't remember the episode that I said it, but I did bring up instances where the law was used to harass children in their schools. One where a kid had to be held down by the school police officer while the teacher cut the dreadlocks off of a black child. I think, I can't remember the state. I'll look it up again, and I do apologize. You know, so having law enforcement there, armed law enforcement, or having guns in the area, it doesn't help. It just plain does not help. It's just plain wrong. This philosophy that you know, we just need to arm our teachers. Okay, now for the record, there was a teacher that got shot in the face by a 16-year-old, and if the teacher was armed, she didn't have any time to draw her weapon. The little kid did, but she didn't. And that's if the teacher is permitted to carry it as a sidearm. Normally they'd be in a desk or anything like that, would have to be in a desk in a drawer, which, again, there would be no time to take on that 6-year-old who had a gun. There certainly wouldn't even be enough time to take on the shooter in Uvalde, nor Nicholas Cruz, you know, because these, not even the tranny that came in, she shot through a glass wall. You would have thought that would have had all doors immediately lock up and stuff from the gun blasts just down the hall. No. It didn't stop any of the teachers. It didn't help. It didn't stop any of the teachers. It didn't create any kind of prevention or anything for the teachers to lock the doors and shut them out and then try to hide the kids or reach for his or her gun, you know. No. The young adult blasted through a glass wall, waltzed right on in, looked around to pick a hallway to choose, finally went down one, and then shot 6 people, 3 adults, 3 kids. What in the world is putting a sidearm on one of those teachers for? If the shooter's still going to get away with murder. You understand? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. The shooter would have just walked off with with that teacher's gun. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. So that's my spiel on this subject. You don't. I honestly understand when you write and you don't agree, when you comment and you don't agree to what I'm saying. Um, the emails. I don't know what happened to my email. For some reason, that it just not accepting receiving any emails anymore. So I'll try to revive that. And you guys post all of your evidence at me. That list of every. Keep in mind, some of it I'm still going through. The list of all the sex offenders that were on the Democrats, that supposedly that the government is covering up, and only the Democrats, which is just total bullcrap in my eyes. Because if the only the Democrats is just dumb. How I mean, they must be masters of disguise and dodging and all this good stuff. Trump should have taken notes, because he's getting indicted. Trump should have taken notes of the Democrats, dodging and getting away with all of this crap. So yeah, no, that's just a bunch of bullshit. But I'm still reading that list. I'm still looking at all of the cases and all this good stuff every now and then. And a lot of them are just plain incorrect or shouldn't even qualify. Because there's one like Al Franken who got inappropriate with somebody, and then there's somebody, and I already forgot his name, who got him inappropriate and was proven innocent. But the simple fact that he was looked at is the reason why he's on this list that says all these Democrats are just evil. All these Democrats are sex offenders. Al Franken, to top it all off, was even forgiven by the woman, and he resigned. He didn't keep his job. He didn't say, how dare you accuse me of this and that, and I'm not going anywhere, like the way the Republicans have. So anytime a Republican gets in trouble, it's just so much more fun than a Democrat, because the Democrat will resign. The Roy Moore and Jim Jordan, all these sex offenders that are still hanging around and just being worthless douches of politicians and political leaders. I'm sorry, but when they're still around, we still got to keep spitting on them, plain and simple. We still got to keep pointing out what those douchebags are doing. That's just a law of nature. Every other Democrat, I think, except for Clinton. Clinton still needs to face trial for his with the 17-year-old. His thing with the 17-year-old. I think that Prince Andrew, should also face charges. Him, all of them that were on Epstein's island, including Trump. Get rid of them, or just sentence them. I don't care if they do a little bit of time. It's the simple fact that they're doing time. Put them in a prison. Let them pay the price for what they've done, whether they're forgiven or not. And yeah, that even goes to Al Franken. Even though technically Al Franken, he did his time already. He resigned, which is what the charge, which is what the sentencing was. He apologized. He went through therapy and all this stuff. He didn't have to do time because the judge didn't issue it. Plus, it's not exactly raping a 17-year-old. So, but yeah, those are the spiel. Those are the things right now. I'm calling out anybody and everybody that's saying stuff and doing stuff or not doing stuff. And I'm also presenting it on common sense, on common ground. It's the reason why you come here, and it's a wonderful way for me to say what's on my mind. So y'all stay safe out there. If you see a shooter, wherever it is that you're hanging out, even if you don't, before anything happens, just take a look at your surroundings and make sure that you can actually duck, hide, bring your date, bring your friend or whatever with you in a hiding spot, because the shooter won't hit what he can't see. And if you could, please make some room for the one who's left behind by her boyfriend. You know, the one with the bad boy who ain't afraid of nothing. But as soon as the shooting starts, he's out there running. Dang, I hope my girlfriend didn't get shot. You know, that girl that's left behind. If you can make some space for her, I'm sure she'd appreciate it also. So y'all take care. Y'all take it easy. This is Chris with Chris's Comments, signing out.